I first met Gabrielle Keiller here in Edinburgh in 1977 when I joined the Gallery of Modern Art. And she was on the acquisitions committee. She gave brilliant advice and really was responsible for some of the most important acquisitions. She was born in Scotland, in North Berwick, when her father was on a golfing holiday, and she became a champion golfer. And so the first half of her life was dedicated to golf. And Alexander Keiller, her third and last husband, she met on a golf course, and he was a great golfer too. I didn't think as good as she was, but that was one of their shared interests. It's often thought that because he was from the famous Dundee firm of Keiller's Marmalade, that's where the money for her art collecting came, but that wasn't the case. It was really in 1960, I think, that she started focusing on Dada and Surrealist art. She visited the Venice Biennale, and Paolozzi was, I think, being shown in the British Pavilion. She became very close to him, was a great champion and collector of his work, and I think probably formed the biggest collection of his work anywhere.
She had this incredible reasoning, a certain kind of imperial eccentricity. She found it very easy to like Surrealism as being quirky, naughty, and for her, marvellous.
He would be advising on her, I think, at the beginning on where she should be concentrating. So looking at Dada art, looking at Max Ernst, looking at Duchamp, people like that. And then Wynne Henderson took her to meet Peggy Guggenheim, a really defining moment, I think, in Keiller's collecting. And from that moment onwards, she concentrated on modern and contemporary. As a person, she was a great perfectionist. She was very thorough. And I think she realised that, you couldn't form a collection of Dada and Surrealism without having a library. She had to have the works on paper, she had to have the books, the portfolios, the novels, complete runs, very rare. Dada and Surrealism were literary movements before they were visual movements. The ideal of many of those artists, whether they were writers, poets, or visual artists, was to bring together these two art forms. The whole idea of word and image being fused became very much a theme of the collection, and that's why it's so rich, her collection, in artist books and illustrated material.
This is the reading room at the Scottish National Gallery of Modern Art, and this is where we provide access to our archive and special collections material. Part of those collections are obviously the Keiller collection. Is fantastic in that it reflects all of those relationships and collaborations that were happening at the time in the 1920s and 30s. So this is Le Feu Cool. Keiller owned lots of material that belonged to Georges Unier. He was a writer and a critic, but he was also an artist and a bookbinder. It has this beautiful slipcase with wood veneer, and then the book itself fits in this lovely little slipper. Unier's end papers are incredibly distinctive, and this is a really important element of Surrealist practice. This is a technique called decalcomania, which is ink blots basically. But the element of chance, which is so important to Surrealism, is really employed here in that it doesn't require any artistic technique or talent. It's something that anybody can do. It's a very democratic thing, and it's quite a cheap thing, but it's very distinctive for Unier, and quite often his end papers were like this. They're very beautiful.
Collecting these smaller objects, many of them, which had very strong erotic connotations, it kind of gave a different insight into the Dada Surrealist mind. There was a sort of fetishistic side to this whole collection, which she appreciated very much. I mean, it makes the collection unique, I think. The Duchamp box in a suitcase is really the key to the whole collection in a way. When it's packed up, it's just a suitcase or a briefcase. You open it up and it slowly reveals all the complete collection, everything in miniature. So it's like a sort of doll's house, really, with these ingenious little hinges and brackets and folding things. So the whole thing is a process of uncovering, revealing, disclosing. When we did this exhibition of her Dada Surrealist collection in Edinburgh in 1988, which was the first time her collection had ever been shown. She didn't want her name attached to it at all. So nowhere in here, in this book, have you any idea who owns this collection. It's just called a private collection. She was a very private person. One of that generation of women who had very little formal education, probably felt slightly intimidated by the world of men and university-educated people and so on. And I think she was very modest and self-effacing about her achievements and very private and always saying, oh, no, you know far more than I do. I don't know anything about this. Actually, that wasn't the case at all. She was very incisive and her judgment was always right. She had an instinctive feel for works of art.